Hello. So remember the Halloween silhouettes that I made? Well, I've decided to do a few for Christmas, but these will have a different twist and they won't be black. So I'm planning to do 2 reindeer and a few trees, and I'm super excited to get these done and get them up this weekend, hopefully. So there was so much interest for templates for my Halloween silhouettes that I've created templates for these Christmas ones. So instead of you guys having to draw them yourself, I've made available these super easy print at home templates that you can print on your home printer on regular letter paper, and then you build the template like you would a puzzle. So it's quite fun to get the whole family involved. The instructional PDF that comes with the template will show you an overview of where all the pieces go. Each sheet is conveniently numbered so it's easy to build. Okay, I wanted to show you guys these templates. They will be available in my Etsy store, but I wanted to show you guys, check this out. They are giant, and I'm super excited to get these on the wood and cut it out with my Dremel. But you can notice that this one I didn't cut out on the actual black line because I figured you could trace it really hard with a ballpoint pen and it transfers onto the wood really easy. But you can also cut it out and trace the edges, and that also works really well. So just depends what you prefer doing. I used a 1/4 inch plywood. You can use 1/2 inch plywood as your personal preference, but you trace the templates and then you go over the trace lines with a Sharpie. This way you can see it when you're cutting it with your tool of preference. I started off using the Dremel 3000. It is my trusty tool that I go to for these projects, but I wanted to speed it up, so I decided to bring out the Ryobi Router. And this was really great for the long cuts, and then I went in with the Dremel 3000 for the details. So we have a 4-foot female reindeer, a male reindeer, a 9.2 feet tree, a 7-foot tree, and a 5'9" tree. So when everything is cut, you're going to clean up the edges by sanding it with an 80 to 180 grit sandpaper. Then I primed the front and the back of the tree, and then used Chantilly lace from Benjamin Moore to paint just the fronts. And don't forget your favorite sealant so it's protected from the weather. To join the 2 halves of the tree, I used a 2x4 stud. The reason for this is simply for support for the tree, as well as I wanted to remove the studs at the end of the season so these can be stored very minimally up against the wall. So I drilled a pilot hole first and then screwed in these white exterior screws. You can get them from Home Depot. So by adding a little extra on the support beam, this ended up being a 9'7" tree. And now it's ready for lights. What I do is I use a hot glue gun on low heat, and I place the glue onto the wood and then put the cable in the glue and then seal it with another ribbon of glue over it. This way I find that when you want to remove it at the end of the season, when you want to store these guys, the glue is very easy to take off the back of the wood. So you can see that I'm placing the lights at the back of the silhouette as close as I can get them to the edge. Now the trick is to make sure that all those light bulbs are hidden. So very similar to my Halloween silhouettes, I will be attaching a spacer to the back of them. Now the reason why I'm attaching a spacer is because I want them to be bumped off the surface I'm attaching them to. And then each layer from that first surface will be bumped the same amount. Now, the further away you have those layers to each other, the more wider and softer the glow is from the lights. The closer you have those layers together, the smaller and more harsher the glow will be. So what I've done for the Christmas silhouettes is the middle support beam I've used as part of the spacer. So I will only be attaching an additional 2x4 onto that, and that would be the space I will bump it off the house. So before I show you guys what I attached to my spacers to easily connect to the house, I thought it would be worth mentioning that the color of the surface you're attaching these silhouettes to does make a difference to the amount of glow you're going to get from the back of them from the lights. So the darker the color, the more the light will be absorbed into it, and the lighter the color, the more the light will reflect from it. So that is also one of the reasons why I decided to paint the back of the silhouettes, so it can create the most beneficial environment for the light to reflect from. So the whole idea behind the keyhole plate is so I can attach something very minimal and not noticeable on my house. And all you need for these is a little screw. So I put in a tiny white screw, exterior white screw, into my trim on the house, and then I attach the keyhole plates to these spaces, and the whole silhouette gets attached to the house by that single screw, by just placing the keyhole plate over that screw, dropping it and securing it in. So the 2x4 that you've used in the middle of the trees will take most of the silhouette's weight, and then the spaces with the keyhole plate will secure it to the house so it doesn't blow away or fall over. So a keyhole plate needs a space underneath the plate for the screw to move on downwards when it goes inside that main hole and slides on back down. So I'm going to be doing that with the Dremel, and I'm going to show you how. So first you want to mark where you're going to carve out, and I used a Dremel on medium speed to do this. So the keyhole plate is on the spacer. I've carved out an area there for the screw. This screw would be the one, this would be exactly the same one as I'd have in my trim on the house, and it would fit into the keyhole plate like that and slide on up. And it fits pretty securely. This is the smallest tree in the second row, and it will be attached to the window trim, but because it's in the second row, it has to be double the space as the first row. So while the trees are secured to the house, the reindeer is secured to the tree behind them into its support beam using the spacer. So if you want to make these yourself, go check out my templates in my Etsy store. The link is below in the description. We are loving how it turned out. If you like it as much as we do, hit that thumbs up and give us a like. And don't forget to subscribe for future DIY tips and tutorials.